Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Hot Seat, a wireless design and development interview series where we talk about the latest wireless technologies, components, and design issues for the wireless design engineering community. Today we are speaking with Tobin Richardson, who was appointed Chairman and CEO of the ZigBee Alliance back in February of 2013. He works closely with the Alliance Board of Directors to set strategy and then implement programs designed to advance the adoption of ZigBee standards. Prior to this role, Tobin has served as the Director for Smart Energy, where he was focused on driving adoption of ZigBee in key smart energy markets. Tobin has more than 15 years of experience in strategic management and marketing for technology firms and organizations. In 2008, he directed PG&E's Smart Meter Upgrade RFP, following 3 years with the California utility working with the executive team on the company's transformation process, managing stakeholder and regulatory relationships and initiatives. Prior to PG&E, Tobin directed and led business development and stakeholder management for a broad spectrum of technology and large-scale companies, including Affiliated Computer Services, numerous U.S. federal agencies, Centerbeam, Pandasec, and Georgetown University. He led the turnaround of a key business unit of Georgetown University, helped drive an interagency initiative for the U.S. Customs Service, and led new business development and strategic partnerships for an IT outsourcing firm based in Silicon Valley. Tobin has managed strategic partnerships with technology industry leaders, including Microsoft, Intel, Dell, and SAP, in technology and marketing initiatives. Tobin currently serves as Secretary for the U.S. Smart Grid Interoperability Panel's Testing and Certification Committee, is co-chair of NAESB's Energy Usage Information Standard Committee, and participates actively on NEMA's Smart Grid Task Force and the CEA's Smart Grid Working Group. Tobin holds a master's from Georgetown University and a bachelor's degree from the University of California, Davis. Welcome, Tobin. Let's start off with a conversation with my first question. What sort of progress is the ZigBee Alliance making towards the Internet of Things, especially as it relates to the connected home?
So the Alliance is making great progress, and it's really built on 10 years of good progress already by a huge ecosystem of companies dedicated to the notion of the Internet of Things and a really connected home. And so we built a suite of standards that are really critical in terms of connecting disparate devices together in a logical way. And that really is the structure and the underpinning of the connected home, and having an ecosystem of products that consumers and service providers can rely on to talk intelligently to each other, and then be able to build services on that in a way that brings value and both the dollar value and comfort and convenience to consumers around the world.
And then can you discuss the new home automation standard and describe what events were happening in the market that created a need for this type of standard? So in other words, why did this standard need to be created? Why did you guys feel it was important to come up with it?
Sure, you bet. The home automation standard really came about a few years ago, built on a number of companies coming together and recognizing that they needed a standard way for these devices to talk to each other. The home automation environment has historically had a number of proprietary and niche players that have proven value for very specific areas, but to get to a mass market appeal, to really support that connected home, you really need to have standards, and that was really the nexus and the genesis for creating the home automation standard. We built a great deal of expertise around this. We've had really strong installer-based markets around this, with a lot of industry players supporting that. And now this evolution, this home automation 1.2 standard and update that we've released today, is really exciting because it brings in the experience of those many different companies, the experience interacting on those installations, figuring out how the networks operate in a real environment, bringing all of those experiences to this update. And what that also does is then really brings in the experience of the consumer and the customer in a way that makes it easy out of the box, the maintenance of those networks easier as well, and takes advantage of some of the lessons learned in those deployments by our member companies in that process. So this is a very exciting time and a very exciting update, because it really brings that consumer value home, brings in the ability for service providers to provide more expanded service offerings around security, home automation, energy management, and a whole host of different areas that are important to the consumer.
You said you had to bring in a lot of expertise for this particular standard and that you had a lot of industry players involved. Can you mention some of those players, or is that something that you can't discuss?
No, certainly. We have, and you can look these up on the website as well. We have a number of industry players, and these go from small startups to Fortune 500 companies. And you have great systems integrators like iControl. You have major home automation product manufacturers like Legrand and Schneider, and the list really goes on. And then you have service providers like Telecom Italia, who help develop the real specific energy at home market requirements, and Comcast, who has a very significant home automation offering utilizing ZigBee. So a really good cast of characters here that have that represent the real strong cross section of the industry. That means that you will have the mass market support for these kinds of products in the home.
And then, what are the characteristics of the ZigBee standard that make it well suited for applications such as home security?
Yeah, so some of the really key important aspects of ZigBee for this market were really built and designed in, and they're really built for purpose here. And those include things like the ability to have low power, low data rate applications for wireless applications. So for security, that's really important when you have a window sensor, or you have what we call a green energy option, or a green power option, where you have self-powered devices in a network. In addition, ZigBee networks get stronger with the more devices that you add into those networks. And so that's really important when you talk about incorporating additional security features or additional devices in a security network. And the robustness and the strength of the network improves with the number of different devices you have on the network, and that's one of the key attributes of ZigBee. Plus, these have a great. I mentioned, they're good for low power. That's really important when you talk about battery life for a lot of these different devices. It's important to have a multi-year battery life for a lot of these, because you don't want to have replacements taking place all the time that potentially can include or potentially have a confusing aspect for consumers. So the longer shelf life or longer life that these have on the in the installation for the consumer, the better in terms of the consumer experience, but also for the service providers, so that they know they don't have to assign a truck roll to one of these installations, and they have a greater confidence that these are going to work intelligently together over a long period of time, and they can build great service offerings around those.
Can you sort of maybe explain what you mean by they get stronger with the more devices that you have? Because in my mind, if you have more of something that's connected wirelessly, there's more of an option of or an opportunity for certain interference of certain signals. So can you maybe kind of explain what you mean by that?
Yeah, so two things. I think I'll talk about interference of signals, and then also what happens in mesh networking and the ability to have stronger networks with the more devices. In typical networking, not typical networking, but in different star networks where you have really point-to-point, it's really between one device and another. But if I want to get a message or a control or a sensor reading from a window that may be outside of the initial range of a controller device, if I have intermediate devices along the way, I can hop along those different devices and get that reading and also a control message or control signal back and forth between a specific device at the end of that. So the more devices that you can introduce, the stronger that network is going to be. You're going to have different paths to get that message or control signal back. And so by virtue of having more devices in the network, the stronger the network is, and the greater capability to have an effective management and use of that network. The second part that you mentioned was on interference. And we operate typically in the 2.4 gigahertz range, so we share that space with Wi-Fi and many others. And the benefit to that is that it's a globally really free spectrum and well understood by radio manufacturers and product manufacturers as well. In addition, with our partners in IEEE and also great experts in our own working groups, we're able to introduce ways of managing that network in a way that really reduces the amount of interference or issues managing a ZigBee network in that 2.4 gigahertz spectrum. And we've got great examples of this. We have, for example, the Aria Hotel in Las Vegas, has over 65, maybe even at this point 80,000 different ZigBee nodes in it, and you have a Wi-Fi router in every single room in that hotel, and they have really very few, if no, issues in terms of the interference between getting data and running a movie over one of their TVs and operating the window and the lights in any given room. So we have great experience in that, and also built on a really good, strong understanding of how these networks work together.
And then can you explain and discuss the other flavors of ZigBee beyond the home automation standard?
Yeah, certainly. So there are really two important parts there. One, ZigBee is about wireless sensor and control networks and bringing all these devices intelligently together. And so the applications are really varied in terms of where that can be applied. So we're talking a little bit today about our home automation standard, but we also have standards supporting intelligent thermostats talking to utility networks. We have a great ZigBee Light Link, which allows for really a diverse set of and complex set of different ways that you can manage lights. Well, those ZigBee Light Link devices can intelligently interact in a home automation network as well. So we try to support the industry in the areas where they want added specificity in terms of what the different devices look like for those different areas, and then bring them all together in an intelligent way, whether that's really under the board or at an application layer. So there are a number of different areas that we address. Those are just a few, but there are other areas such as telecom services, healthcare, home healthcare as well, commercial building automation, and a few different others that are really, perhaps not as close to the consumer in terms of the application area. But as you can imagine, when you talk about low power, low data rate sensor and control networks, the applications are virtually limitless. And so we try to support that in an as intelligent a way possible while providing consumer value.
And then for my final question, what are your predictions for the future of the Internet of Things and the connected home?
Yeah, well, the future is really exciting in terms of how this really helps individuals and consumers control their world. I like to look at the popular media and see what visions are really brought out to take advantage of this. And really, the consumers and the application developers are the ones that are really forging the road ahead for us and taking this infrastructure that we're helping to put in place through our members and their good work. And I look at articles such as Wired in terms of an article they had in May of 2013 talking about Awake. And this is really the notion that every device is intelligent to the point that it needs to be. This can be adding a humidity sensor to a plant and letting you know when that plant needs to be watered. It can be biometrics that can be shared, and you can have really advanced warning of any kind of critical conditions that you might be experiencing. And taking that same kind of application to different devices. So there's really an exciting set of things and applications that can be accomplished with this technology, and it's really a matter of how application developers can do that while at the same time ensuring privacy and security. And those are really important issues that we need to make sure permeate every part of this development. But those all really combine to be a more intelligent world, allow us to be more human, and take advantage of the technology around us to enjoy greater lives.
Well, thank you, Tobin, for the opportunity. We appreciate you stopping in with us today. I'm Megan Zimba, and I'll see you guys next time in the hot seat.